Hello, my sweet stitchers! So happy you're here! As I mentioned in the previous video, in this one we'll take a look at the materials and tools I used to make the doll. As I've already explained, I used cotton. I'll show you the label with the specifications of the one I used, so you can adapt it to whatever you have on hand. As we already know, when making amigurumi, we should use a smaller hook than the one recommended on the label of the yarn we're going to use. In my case, I almost always use the same one, a 1.75mm hook. But you can use whichever one you find most convenient or are used to using. There are no strict rules here, just guidelines that will lead us to more or less similar results. Another thing we'll need is a tool or system for marking the stitches. You can use any of those small hooks or safety pins sold for this purpose. They come in a wide variety of shapes and colors. Although I use a strand that's thinner than the one I use for working, and in a different color. The tools available on the market for marking stitches are usually thicker than the space in the stitch, and the mark tends to show up in my work. But as I said before, use whatever technique you prefer, because there are no magic formulas. There are as many ways to crochet as there are people doing it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We'll also use scissors and a needle to sew the parts of our amigurumi together when necessary. The needle should be a yarn needle. This type of needle has a larger eye than standard needles and a blunt tip that doesn't prick. This allows the tip of the needle to glide easily between the stitches without piercing the yarn in the middle. We'll also use a hot glue gun. We'll need it to create a firm, flat sole for the shoes. For some details, such as the polka dots on the dress, the face, and the hat, I used acrylic paint. You can use any type or brand, whether it's for crafts or fabric. Acrylic paints have a unique property that's very useful to us. When the paint dries, it turns into a kind of rubber that adheres well to the fibers of our amigurumi, so it won't come off despite use, cleaning, or washing. Remember that all dolls intended for children need to be washed from time to time, and it's very important to follow the care instructions on the label of the materials you've used. You'll also need a piece of green ribbon for the bow on the doll's apron. I used satin ribbon, but you can use whatever you think works best. We didn't crochet the bow for aesthetic and durability reasons. With the ribbon, we can make a pretty bow that won't lose its shape every time we tie it. For the eyes, I used plastic eyes, but painting or embroidering them is also a wonderful option. Although in the sketch, since I work on a design several times to refine it, that you can see in the images I've painted the eyelashes, you'll notice that in the video I'll be attaching false eyelashes. But you can also embroider them. I'm terrible at embroidery, but I know you all do it incredibly well. I've seen it for myself. We'll also need any plastic container that we can cut up to make a sole to place on top of the silicone in the shoe. It can be the lid or the bottom of a container, because we need a flat surface. Now, let's take a look at the colors and quantities I used to make the doll and her adorable kitten. We'll use about 100 grams of the skin-colored clay of your choice. That would be one full piece and a little more of another, referring to the material I've shown you. 150 grams of red, or 2 pieces of 75 grams each. But if we're going to make the dress and the hair in different shades of red, we'll need 1 piece for each. We'll also use about 70 grams of white, or 1 piece. 30 grams of green, or half a piece. A very small amount of dark brown, and a very small amount of light brown as well. For the shoes, about 70 grams of light pink for the hat, that is 1 piece. In any case, remember that these are approximate amounts. The material we use doesn't always behave the same way. It will depend on the type of cotton, the brand, and other factors that can affect the amount we need. We might have a little pink left over to make the little kitten. Otherwise, we'll need a little more to make it. And of course, we'll need the filling. I use a synthetic fiber filling, 100% polyester. Because it's hypoallergenic, it prevents dust mites and mold, quickly regains its shape, is highly resistant to moisture, and can be machine washed without losing its shape. But, yeah, just use whatever you can, have on hand or prefer. I think that's everything. If I remember anything else, I'll mention it in the next videos because it's time to get started. In this video, we're going to learn how to make the arms. A lovely piece you can use in any project. All right, my sweet stitchers, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!